What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. And today's video is about Paddy Pimblett, a fighter that is super popular, fighter that I love to watch, and a fighter that did a number on Michael Chandler in his last fight that I was blown away by, and I love that fight. That was one of my favorite fights of 2025. But he seems to have this narrative that constantly surrounds him, which is that Paddy sucks. Paddy's all hype. He's not very good, and he's been propelled up through the ranks, maybe because of his large fan base, maybe because they want to solidify the fan base in the UK. All these reasons are often posited as to why Paddy gets the opportunities that he gets. It's saying that he actually, so many fans, especially fans, feel like he's got no skill and he's going to immediately get annihilated, that he's got no shot against Ilia or anybody else in the upper echelons of the division. And I wanted to do a quick deep dive into this question and this discussion because I actually disagree. I don't think he sucks. I actually think he's severely underrated. I think we're going to see that when he fights Justin Gaethje. Although the way that the MMA world works and how much hate Paddy gets, I guarantee you people, as soon as he beats Gaethje, if he does, which I believe he will, people are going to say Gaethje's old. He's 36. He's washed up, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So this guy just cannot win. Maybe if he eventually beats Ilia or Arman Sarukian, I think Arman's actually a much tougher fight, but I don't call me crazy. I think he beats Ilia. I think he can beat Ilia, and we're going to go through some of the criticisms that have followed Paddy around, but I think he can beat Ilia because he's going to have a massive range advantage. I think he's dangerous on the ground, and I think his unorthodox striking is going to be so weird and bizarre that I think that Ilia is going to have a lot of a harder time than we think. And again, I know Ilia's moved up and he did great against Charles Oliveira, but I think Paddy's a lot bigger. I think Paddy's a very big opponent. I don't know if the knockout power will translate as well as it normally does. Call me crazy. Might say he sticks his chin up in the air, so he's going to get tagged and KO'd very quickly. We shall see, but I'm not so sure. All right, we're going to go through some of the reasons right now. And last but not least, I'm very, 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 very excited for Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje. I've been on board as soon as it was announced. I think it's amazing, even though they were going to do Ilia versus Paddy. I love this new fight. I love the interim title shot. So this is all positivity in this video. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. So I've looked up via ChatGPT, by the way, using deep research. We went in and looked at some of the major criticisms that he's received over the years. And I wanted to go through each of these major criticisms that started to hurt Paddy Pimblett's reputation. And I think a lot of these are myth, and I wanted to dispel these myths. So we're going to first start with the Jared Gordon fight. Everybody said, oh my God, Jared Gordon clearly beat Paddy. And I think people started to think that Paddy is really terrible when he got that victory. And a lot of people felt like it wasn't a bad decision. Everybody pretty much felt like Jared Gordon won. And maybe he did. But it was a close fight, number one. Jared Gordon is not some random guy. He's a UFC fighter, and he's been in the UFC for a while. He's not just showing up and getting one fight and then getting cut. Jared Gordon's a real fighter, and he's not an easy challenge. On top of that, if people remember, Paddy had an injury. I can't remember if it was a broken foot or something, but he had an injury in that fight. I want to say it was a broken foot, and that's also part of the reason and rationale as to why he did have a hard time with that fight. Nevertheless, he got the victory. And I have this quote here from Emre Guru saying it was a bad performance. He said that this was a disgrace before backtracking. And then he said, Pimblett even said it wasn't a good performance, but I think there were some reasons for that. But that was a long time ago. And I think a lot of fans are still clinging on to it. Nevertheless, whatever you want to say, even if he got gifted that victory, at least you can say it was a close fight. Okay, it wasn't like he got smashed and annihilated. And we're going to talk about records in a second because people seem to just not even care about the fact that he's undefeated in the UFC. Like, you think that's an easy feat? It's so crazy. But I think just a lot of people very much dislike Paddy Pimblett for whatever reason. Another major criticism is that he's constantly had easy matchups gifted to him. Listen, number one, okay, there's the same criticism that Sean O'Malley got until he beat Aljo, and I think then people started to say, okay, well, but this is what he doesn't pick his opponents. Okay, so he has no control over that. Number one, but number two, to say that he's getting easy matchups, I think is really unfair. Okay, sure. You can talk about Tony Ferguson, and Tony Ferguson was one of the most dangerous lightweights at one point, but he got him on the downturn of his career. We can admit that, but it's not like Tony Ferguson was just a punching bag. He was still in there. He was giving it his best effort, and Paddy beat him. It is what it is. But I wouldn't chalk that. I mean, I feel like people had different energy when Charles Oliveira beat Tony Ferguson. They didn't write that off. Granted, that was closer to his peak. It was right after the Justin Gaethje loss. That's kind of when the decline began. But I think people just totally write it off for Paddy Pimblett unfairly so. But what about the other fighters that he's beaten? What about Bobby Green? You know, people want to say that was an easy matchup. What? So Bobby Green is just not a real fighter? Bobby Green's had some great wins and some great battles. Yeah, he lost badly to Islam. And by the way, Paddy didn't just beat him. Paddy annihilated him. He finished him. I think if I remember correctly, he choked him out. He kind of rushed in and he got him in a guillotine. I can't remember what the submission was, but he got him in. He finished him very quickly. And then we talk about Michael Chandler. Everybody is writing off Michael Chandler. The guy, say what you will about Bellator, but he did amazing in Bellator. He almost beat Charles Oliveira for the title way back in the day. Obviously, he got pretty schooled in the rematch, but had moments in the 5th round where we thought he was going to win. You know, illegal blows aside, but Michael Chandler is not, again, just some terrible, horrible fighter. He's got a great wrestling pedigree. He is a very, very dangerous striker. He hits with a lot of power. He's a little reckless, but I think that taking away that win from Paddy and just completely dismissing it, I think is very unfair. Again, I don't think people did that to Charles Oliveira when he beat him right before that. So the easy matchup criticism, twofold, right? Number one, obviously, we can't discount it, because we can't just take that away from him because he's not making the matchups. It's the UFC. And number two, he's still winning. Okay, he's still winning. How many fighters can you say that they're winning all their fights? Okay, the other big criticism we have is Paddy keeps his chin up in the air. Okay, so this is one of the big things. This is one of the main criticisms that people say, okay, he's always got his chin up. He can be hit very easily, and this is what's going to happen. This is why he's going to get clipped. Well, if we actually look at I'm going to show you guys his stats against Michael Chandler here in a moment. Let me load this up really quickly. So if we look at the stats from Michael Chandler, I don't understand. I mean, people are criticizing him all the time. Michael Chandler landed only 14 significant strikes. So how is that still such a major issue? You can say what you want about Michael Chandler, but look at the difference in significant strikes, 14 to 118. So I think that we can say definitely he's been working on his game, and I think his striking or his defense has improved. And so whatever you want to say about some of these deficiencies, I think he's definitely working on them. I bet you we're going to see a new and improved, what's it called, Paddy Pimblett, when we get to January 24th. Hold on one second. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next point. Let's get back to the slideshow here. Okay, boop, boop, boop. All right. So after the chin up, and the last thing, this is the big thing. This is something that worried me from the beginning, the weight fluctuations. Okay, he's very famous, and he's been open about slimming down. Then after a fight, ballooning up to like 220 or 30 pounds, getting really fat and obese, and then slimming down again. And this I always worried about because I felt like this meant he wasn't serious about the fight game. And also he was probably spending a majority of his fight camp just getting back into shape and not actually training and working on skills. So I think this was a very, very, very fair criticism in terms of what people were saying about Paddy and maybe his seriousness to the sport and his seriousness to training. So I think that was something that could have been worrisome. However, Michael Bisping said he saw him in the Middle East. And I know he's been prepping for Ilia. He thought he was supposed to fight Ilia in January, but I think he's getting his weight under control. I think now that he's on the precipice of a title shot, I think we're going to see a new and improved Paddy Pimblett. And I don't think we're going to see the weight fluctuations anymore. I think now that he's got a chance to hit gold, we're going to see a much more dialed in Paddy. And with what he's already done with all these problems, who knows what's going to happen now that he's fully focused and dialed in. I think we might see a brand new Paddy Pimblett that is just on fire and able to dominate going forward. So that's what I have to say about that, about all the criticisms. Now, let's look at Paddy's record, okay? This is just in the UFC, but he is undefeated in the UFC. Do you think there's that many fighters that have 7-0 unbeaten streak in the UFC that just happens? Whatever you want to say about, hey, maybe slightly favorable matchups. To beat, and Luigi Vendramini, by the way, trained with Justin. That guy is no slouch. To beat All these people. Jordan Levitt, very good fighter, by the way, as well. Great grappling. A lot of people thought Paddy was going to lose there. Jared Gordon's a great fighter. Tony Ferguson, once upon a time, a legend of the sport. Okay, interim title holder. You can say what you will, but he didn't get it. I don't think it was like a totally, completely destroyed Tony Ferguson where he had nothing in his arsenal. He was still Tony Ferguson to some extent. King Green, and then Michael Chandler. Dude, Michael Chandler came out dangerous, hungry. You know, I thought he had moments, like I said, against Charles Oliveira. He came out explosive, doing his thing. I think just Paddy is that much better, but everybody's writing it off. And I'm going to show you just how rare it is to have a record like this, where somebody is this undefeated, that has this type of streak in the UFC. So we're going to look at UFC unbeaten records. We have some guys right now in terms of active fighters. We have Lerone Murphy, 9-0, Ilia Topuria, Khamzat Chimaev, and Movsar Evloev. These are all huge names in the sport. All guys at the top of their division, 9-0. Now we come down to 7-0 in the UFC. Michael Morales, we saw him recently. Shavkat, legend, obviously. Paddy Pimblett's in the mix, okay? Paddy Pimblett is in this company. Look how many people are below in terms of these unbeaten streaks. So what are you just, and by Sungar, that guy's a legend. He's Khamzat's boy. He's newer in the UFC. So are we just to write this off, even though what he's in the rarefied air with Caio Borralho? I know this unbeaten streak has ended, but with Shavkat, with Michael Morales, with Movsar Evloev, 9-0, right? He's 2 behind. Khamzat Chimaev. When are people going to give Paddy Pimblett any credit? Now, let's quickly talk about his skills generally. What did we see in the Michael Chandler fight? We saw amazing, I thought very impressive striking. I thought amazing ground and pound with brutal elbows. So I think he's great in both striking on the ground and striking stand up. We know that he's a jiu-jitsu practitioner first. That's the best part of his game, is his ground game. It's not like he's just some random striker that if he gets on the ground, he's in trouble. He's a well-rounded fighter. I think he's got good kickboxing. I think he's got awkward kickboxing, which again is a massive advantage because it's hard to replicate his style. On top of that, he's very big for the division. He's tall. He's lanky. He's got a lot of size. I think he balloons back up quite big when he fights, so that size advantage is going to play to his favor. This guy's a formidable opponent. To say that he sucks, or people parroting this narrative that he sucks over and over, I understand the doubt when he had that close fight against Jared Gordon. But we got to stop with this. That's in the past. And we got to give him credit if and when, which I do believe he's going to do, if and when he beats Justin Gaethje. We must give him credit. Justin Gaethje is not washed up. Yes, he lost to Max Holloway, but he had a very tough fight against Fiziev in his last fight. He beat Fiziev very, very handedly. I mean, it wasn't an easy fight, but he beat him. I think Justin Gaethje can still do a ton of damage in the UFC. So, guys, don't write him off. I just want to end by saying, give this guy respect. He's great for the sport. I think we should start to embrace him. I think people will once he's actually interim champ. I think the tides will turn and more of the haters will transition over to becoming fans. But we should be happy he's here. He talks smack. He's fun. He's exciting. He's got a great fight style. Never, ever boring. Paddy Pimblett, I think, is here to stay. We're going to see him as interim champ, and then we're going to see a super fight with him versus Ilia Topuria. And if we don't, we can see Arman Tsarukyan if they make Ilia Topuria vacate, if he has too many personal issues. Arman Tsarukyan versus Paddy is a banger of a fight because they got real bad blood. Arman Tsarukyan hates Paddy Pimblett with a vengeance. I think that would be tough. I think Arman could get Paddy, but I don't know, man. I think Paddy can beat Ilia. I really do. Call me crazy. So that's my 2 cents. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.